Yo, what's going on? This is the Yungblud podcast. Turn up that volume. Happy! How are you all doing today? I learn so much from the lot of you every day, whether that be on Instagram, whether it be on Twitter, TikTok, all your stories through here. You've introduced me to so many new ways of thinking and ways of living. Legitimately, I wouldn't be who I am today without like your insights. Like Yungblud, like you are we are each other, man. One thing I always like chatting about on this podcast is how you navigate sex and relationships, because it's a subject matter that I get a lot about in my DMs, a lot about sexuality, a lot about freedom, and a lot about how do I navigate sex in this way. And to tell you the truth, I am not Mother Teresa. I don't know. So I'm relying on you lot, you're relying on me, we're relying on each other to get through this crazy idea of sex. Today I'm talking to Jess, who is 29, she's from the East Midlands. Jess wants to be in an ethical, non-monogamous relationship, and she wants to come on the podcast and demystify the preconceptions about open relationship. As we're talking about sex and adult stuff, there'll be probably some bad language, so I apologise. There's a lot to learn about ethical non-monogamy, so I can't wait for Jess to teach me. Let's go. I'm so excited to have this chat because it's just going to be wild, it's going to get freaky, it's going to probably get a little bit loud. And I'm talking to Jess, she's 29 from the East Midlands. How are you, Jess? All right?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm vibing.
Good.
So initially, for anyone out there who doesn't know, what is ethical non-monogamy?
So it's a really difficult thing to sum up in a really succinct sentence, so I won't. But most people think, like when I talk about it, a lot of the misconception is that ethical non-monogamy means polyamory, and that's not necessarily the case. Ethical non-monogamy is like a big, beautiful umbrella that involves loads of different types and styles of relationship structures, and basically means anything other than just the very traditional monogamous, one other person forever, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Dude, that's what I was like, because when I read it, I was like, kind of went to being polyamorous, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I was excited for today because I can't wait to learn something new. Anything I love doing is learning new things about sex. Trust me, like amazing. I am into that. When did you first kind of go like, do you know what? Non-monogamy is the thing for me. When was that epiphany?
Do you know what? I think I was really young, and I don't know if that's like just a me thing or like people that want to sort of are a bit adventurous or that kind of stuff. But like, my mum always used to say to me, you know, if you're in love with someone, that's amazing. But if you fall in love with someone else, you have to stop being in love with that first person before you can move on. And I never understood it as a kid. Like, I never understood, because like, you know, you love your friends unconditionally. You don't just have one really good friend. You don't have one family member that you love. Love is sort of this infinite, incredible thing that you can share. And if you're anything like me, the love that I give out is like intoxicating. Like, I'm such a lover. Like, I love loving people. I love being loved. And it just doesn't...
Same. I mean, I literally did, my whole being is centered around love. You know what I'm saying? Legitimately.
Absolutely. And I think, especially for people with neurodiversities, like I'm ADHD and I've got dyspraxia, it's a thing that is very common for us to just completely like offload our emotions and love endlessly. And it's amazing, and it's so much fun being in a relationship with somebody like that and receiving that back as well. But I never really understood the concept of like just this one person forever, or like sitting and thinking, oh, I've got to find a husband and live with them forever and love them forever and only ever like have sex with one dick for the rest of my life. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't, like, it just doesn't,
I mean, flat out.
It doesn't logically make sense in my brain. Like, when we share so many other stuff and so many other amazing opportunities and stuff in our lives, that's the one thing that is really exclusive. So it was from quite a young age, really. But I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I didn't practice it from a very young age. Like, I've been in multiple long-term monogamous relationships, but I've just always really struggled, basically.
That moment when you create the differentiation as well between love and sex, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's such a difference between like emotional attachment and then sex.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? That blew my mind when I kind of figured that out, because sex is like a thing that when you jump into it, it's like incredible. Sex is something that I love, but it doesn't mean I need to kind of commit forever. And that blew me away, because I was from a very traditional background. It was like, okay, you fall in love and you have sex, and sex is a byproduct of a relationship and whatever.
Exactly.
And then I moved out of the city, and I was like, whoa, I love sex. I'm going to try sex from all angles, everything. I'm just going to try it because I want to. Your past relationship's been more traditional, and because of that was coming out as kind of like wanting to be non-monogamous, a byproduct of kind of feeling restrained and constrained.
Maybe.
Oh, you were just that anyway.
Yeah, probably the latter, to be honest. Like, I mean, for me personally as well, because I'm not like, I'm not parading myself as like, you know, the gospel on this, like, because I'm not at all. Like, you know, this
you
looks
just know you. Yeah,
exactly. It looks different for so many different people, and I'm not suggesting that monogamy is like a bad thing. Like, if it fits for you, that's amazing. Just for me, it doesn't. But the past relationships that I've had, specifically the last one that ended just before lockdown, I get into this sort of weird like rut where it's like 2 years down the line, which I realise is quite a long time. With one person, I'm like, not bored, but just I feel stifled. Like I feel like there's not, you know.
And sometimes people sexually fall into patterns, and that's not down for people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's just, for me, it's like, okay, well, if one other person in the relationship like feels like that, then let's try and work around that and work a way that we can design our own relationships, because that's the most amazing thing, right? Like, your relationship is your relationship. You can devise it however you please. It's like Build-A-Bear Workshop, mate. Like, you literally
legitimately
you can make it however you want.
Yeah, I agree. It freaks me out when it's just like there's a rule book for relationships.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, even with like my parents' relationship, that was up and down for years. And then when we're talking, it's like, I'm like, well, just do what you want, man. Do you know what I mean? If you're like together one week, then you're not, and then you're not, and then you are, then you're not, then you are, then you're not. That don't matter, because it's your relationship, and it's got fuck all to do with anybody else.
Innit? Exactly.
And I think that's literally like, for anyone out there struggling with that and this, and if this subject relates to you, it's nobody else's business except yours and your partner's. And as long as you two are completely communicating, and it's all about communication.
Yeah, it is.
You know what
and
I'm saying?
It's 100%. You can't have an effective relationship regardless of what it looks like from the outside without effective communication. And for me as well, like, I'm an over communicator. Like, you can't shut me up, which I love about me, but it's also like a downfall. Like, my mum says that I'm like an open book, that my spine's broken. Like, it's just, do you know what I mean? Like,
I love that.
So for me, like, communicating is great, right? Like, and if everyone's on the same page and everything is consensual and everyone is feeling comfortable, then it's okay. Like, but it takes that level of like trust and communication in order to try things like this, because you might try it and not like it
completely, which
is fine. It's fine to change your mind. It's fine to think, maybe I want to do this, and then next week decide not to. That's cool. The way that I try and describe it is that, like, and I find it quite helpful to like visualize it. So say like we've gone out for dinner, right? And we go to this restaurant and we're handed these like menus, and the menu is like the most extensive menu you can like ever think of. It's got so many different dishes on it. Some of the dishes you've heard of before, some of them you haven't, some of them you've tried before, some of them you haven't, but it's quite intimidating, right? Because there's loads of choice. The first thing on the menu is monogamy. And most people go for the first thing on the menu because they've tried it before. They know they're going to enjoy it. They know it will be value for money, right? But if you're like me, and like possibly, you know, lots of other people who are adventurous and want to try things new and like wants to see like what their desire is and what their desire isn't, they're going to choose other shit on the menu. Like, and they're probably going to have a delicious meal. Do you know what I mean? Like,
completely.
So that's a kind of a cute way of putting it.
Yeah, I love that. That makes actually a lot of sense. I'm like, whoa. So your past relationship, right? It ended before lockdown because I'm guessing you wanted an open relationship, and they didn't. Yeah. They didn't. Yeah. Okay, fairs. I bet that was quite hard. Yeah,
I mean, there were lots of other things about it. Like, it was a beautiful relationship. It's great, but there was other stuff going on. But I think at the time I was like, do you know what? I think this is something that I really want to seriously look into doing, like, from the get-go now, and I feel like I'm restricting my own self and my own desires if I don't try this. So if you're not up for that, then I think we should call it quits. Yeah, and we did. And you know, like, and then, you know, the pandemic Lovato happened and the world ended. Yeah. So
dude, I love that everyone's saying that. That's everyone's literally like got a million like words for like the pandemic. If if you had an ideal relationship, your ideal relationship would be to be kind of like emotionally monogamous to someone and in love with someone, yet sexually just kind of free.
Yeah, so the pinnacle, and I'm very single at the moment, so it's not going well so far, but the pinnacle is like emotionally exclusive and physically open. So for me, personally, I think that I would probably be most comfortable in an open relationship where I have a primary partner who is like my constant and my emotional support and need, and vice versa. But occasionally, or when and if, I don't deny connections with other people sexually. I don't want like multiple partners. That like I don't think I'd be able to keep up.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. I think sexuality, like, it's all based on everybody's needs. We cannot define a rule book. You know what I'm saying? Whatever works for you. And as I say, if you are feeling what Jess is feeling, you are out there like, what do I do? I hope this provides like comfort, because all this is about is defeating stigma, defeating boxes, defeating preconceived conceptions about the way we should express ourselves within life and within sex and within sexuality. I think, for example, say like you found your perfect ideal open relationship. Like, obviously there's always the concept of jealousy. What is your kind of take on the concept of jealousy within an open relationship?
So I think like jealousy is obviously like a really interesting thing to talk about, because it's the first thing that people are like, oh no, I'd be so jealous. But jealousy in itself is a really interesting concept, because in every other part of our lives, right, we feel jealousy, but we understand that it's not conducive to going forward. Like if you're in a career and somebody like gets in front of you or whatever, like I'm an actor, if somebody gets a job over me, like the instant reaction is jealousy, but I know as a grown woman that that's not conducive, that's not their fault, do you know what I mean? So you change it to be happy for that person. So in a relationship setting, if I know that there's a possibility of jealousy, if you communicate that, it will dissipate, and you're actually just really happy that this other person that you love and that you're, you know, in this wonderful relationship with is, you know, finding what they need to find, but it doesn't have to be specifically from you. But I know that that's not how everybody would feel. Like there has to be a certain amount of like self-actualization to be able to get to a point where you're like, I trust that it's not going to get too much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, completely. And again, communication. It's like within your open relationship. If you get freaked out, if you get scared, if you get whatever, you have to say that, because if you suppress it, that's when it causes issues. That's when it causes problems. If you're completely open in your open relationship, double the open, double the flavor, you know what I mean? It's going to work out.
Absolutely.
Dude, this has been sick, man. Like, this has given me like, I'm like, whoa, this is like a new way of thinking, and I love that. Have you got anything you want to say?
I don't know. I think basically it's about like the freedom that comes with like learning to be honest about like the possibilities and the like multiplicities of your own desires, and like to know that there's like such a vast array of different types of relationships and love that you're capable of. It's really freeing, and it's amazing to just consider that. Even if you never act on it, just, you know, open your heart a little bit, because you might find something that is incredible and changes your life.
Dude, I love it, man. Yes, thank you so much for coming on. I'm like giving you all the love. I hope you find that relationship that you want, and sending all my cuddles to you. It's gonna be rocking.
Yeah, I hope to see you at a show soon, man.
Dude, yeah, man, I can't wait to get back, man. It's gonna be rock and roll, man, when it comes out. I'm like buzzing.
I know, I'm so buzzing.
Have an happy day.
You too, mate.
Sick puppies, I'll see you soon.
See you soon.
I love that, man. Like, I actually learned a lot. Like, my mind is a bit blown. Like, I love that she doesn't want to conform to a tradition for her sake of it. That's just who she is. She wants to build her own relationship exactly how she sees fit. Like, what a mad lesson. I love that. If you have any questions or concern about your sexuality or relationship, you can find support and advice by searching for BBC Action Line. And if you're currently in a non-monogamous relationship, tell your partners about a podcast. Maybe not in the middle of sex. That might be a bit weird. But I do love you all. I'm such an idiot. Have a great week. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.